If I may, I have a final question, Senator Brazeau, and I'm looking at your report, and thank you so much for providing it to us. It goes into the testimony of the Senate, so we can draw on it for many conclusions. But I noted with some interest that since 2020, the suicide rate in Quebec seems to be dropping, has dropped and then remained stable after the drop, especially among teenage boys. Do you have any reflections as to what accomplished that drop in suicide rate in Quebec?
Well, to be if I recall, I think the government of Quebec had introduced several programs aimed at youth in the '90s, I believe, or 2000s, or well, don't quote me on the year, but several years ago. And so again, there's been they're reporting that there's been a steady decline, but again, they're just looking at the big picture and not necessarily focusing on the indigenous populations of Quebec. And so we can never, colleagues, forget that.
But your report does say that Quebec is a model to follow. With all its failings, it's doing things better than the rest of the country is. Would you agree with that?
Well, it's a model to follow, perhaps for other provinces and territories, given what they have notified as success and reduction with respect to that. But again, they're talking about the population as a whole. And so if the Quebec government are saying, well, we have a reduction in suicides here, but fail to mention that there's still an overrepresentation of indigenous suicides and are doing nothing or very little about it, well, we're still going to have the same numbers 2, 3, 10, 20 years from now. So, but yes, but to answer again, we perhaps could look more in depth into the Quebec model and try to apply it. But again, let's not make the mistake of looking at the global statistics, regardless of which province or territory, and always keeping in the back of our minds what is the rate of indigenous suicide.
Thank you, Senator Brazeau. That brings us to the end of our time with you. I want to thank you very much as an individual senator, and I know my colleagues subscribe to that, for sharing your personal story. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of fearlessness, and I think you have both of those qualities in spades. Rest assured, your testimony will inform us as we start reflecting on our deliberations and discuss the recommendations in the report.